is up? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. Back with some more Final Fantasy 16 gameplay, and today is my next part in how I would change certain characters. And if you haven't watched my first video where I talk about how I would change Cid, go watch that now because this is going to piggyback off of that. And also, if you've not played the game, there is spoilers in here, so please click off the video now so none of you get mad at me. But without further ado, I'm going to talk about how I would change Benedikta. Now, Benedikta is a character I feel like had so much missed potential just because they kind of had a similar problem that I had with Cid, but even more so, in which they're not in the game a lot. They die way too quickly. And once again, I'm not trying to change their fate, but I just feel like they had so much more left to give because unfortunately this game gives a problem in which, like, they aren't just like the first hurdle you encounter in a game. They had the unfortunate audacity to give this hurdle a lot of depth and even some moments that go outside of their initial premise of just being another enemy you fight, having an actual backstory and connections to a character we also know and love in the game, and then just not really doing much to it. So once and for all, I'm going to tell you what I think they should have done with Benedikta in this game. And once again, it's going to piggyback off of with Cid because, as I said, I mentioned an X factor in that video, and that X factor is Benedikta. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I would have Benedikta not die in this whole fight after you fight her icon, Garuda. I would have, obviously Cid found her, but I'd have her live that whole event. I'd have her actually make it out alive, and I'd have Cid take her back to the hideout and do similar to what he did with Clive. Clive take him back to the hideout, have him in one cell, and have Benedikta in the other cell. And I'd have a lot of, tension and turmoil within the whole hideout. Not that they would ever question Cid's intentions, but just being like, hey, you're housing this person that nearly killed you guys that might be insane or delusional, and then transform into this icon. You sure this is the right thing? But just have that animosity and that tension in the air. And obviously Cid's not going to let anything happen because he does have a soft spot for Benedikta, but also it would give more moments of more Benedikta Cid moments, and just having reason of why she does what she does, why she follow the people she does, and why she didn't follow Cid's path, what really changed, and elaborate more on Cid when he's like he's the best worst decision I ever made in my life, and it would give that more backstory to that character because unfortunately Benedikta's not just some simple person you just fight. Like, Cid saved her when she was enslaved at a time, so it gave a sense of she owes him his life for getting her out of that life, and then something happened, and that's it. We never learn more about it. She just kind of dies, and I feel like this would give a lot of more credence to that. Also, let's see how other characters interact with her. Obviously, Clive speaking to her on a more personal level, why she does what she does. Why she follows who she does, how she started with all that, like her beginning of having an icon, and also just having a sense of maybe you possibly have the potential to maybe change her ways, and maybe you get moments where you actually travel with her. Maybe she becomes one of the party, and even though it would bring up man, do you really trust her? But you'd always have that tension. Having someone in a party you maybe didn't 100% trust, but you were curious to see what was going to happen. And see how she messes with other characters. I actually like to see how she messes with Jill, because I just think that'd be an interesting dynamic there. But just having that, and maybe have side quests where you learn about her, where she started out. Maybe side quests involve her and Cid, where they first met. Just having more substance there, and just simply a person that just, as soon as their chapter is done, they're just dead and move on. It's just kind of similar to how superhero movies had that problem where they would kill off their villains in one film, and that's it. It's no, they have so much more to give than just having one film. But nonetheless, maybe you get that believability that, hey, maybe we can really change her and stuff, and maybe you get to that point where, hey, she honestly wants to change. She wants to go to Cid's side and go away from the Emperor's side and not be a part of that. But then I get to the X Factor I mentioned in my Cid video, where, if you haven't watched it, basically sum it all up. Cid survives the first Mother Crystal, and I have him die when you go confront Hugo in Rosaria, and I have it where Cid ultimately gives his life so that Jill and Clive can escape with theirs. But here the X Factor would be Benedikta, and I would have her a part of that group in that moment, and I would actually have it where she's honestly on Cid's side and not Hugo's, but unfortunately it's the corruption of Ultima that ultimately sways her to eventually join Hugo's side back again, even though she's probably eventually want to be with Sid more than Hugo and join his cause. But unfortunately, Ultima's influence sways over her. And the tragedy is that Sid understands what happens, but Clive and Jill don't. So in their eyes, it looks like she just betrayed him again. And I would have that be the sadness right there. And ultimately, seeming that she joined up with Hugo, and they both seemingly kill Sid off. And it would be a very bitter and tragic moment for both Jill and Clive, while also motivating them even more to go after both of them. So then I get to the part where I feel like obviously Benedikta should have died in the game. And once again, this boss fight was great in the game, but I feel like this could have been even better and just more of an impactful story moment. So instead of having just Clive obviously go and face Hugo, the actual boss fight with Titan, I would have it where it's basically a 2-on-2 icon versus icon fight. 4 icons. I would have, Ifrit and Shiva against Titan and Garuda. And, you can have the same beats of the original fight with Ifrit and Titan, but just have, elements of Garuda and Shiva thrown in there and have it a 2-on-2. And I could just, I could think of so many cool things. Maybe you're fighting and then you swap over to the other icon. Maybe you have combo attacks in the middle of the whole thing. But you can't tell me that would not be a galactic fight. And it'll also be good parallelisms right there, because think about it. On one side, you have a kind of corrupted, couple and pairing, which are doing everything they can, to keep that power and keep what the crystals are giving them, and showing how they're just corrupted love. And whether willing or not, we can always question that. But obviously the crystals and Ultima are not doing them any favors. As we've seen in the boss fight itself, where Titan basically gives everything he can to get more power with the crystal and stuff. And you see that both with him and Garuda. But then on the other side, you have our main characters, Clive and Jill, people who want to do everything to prevent all that, who don't support the crystals, who obviously are not going to support Ultima's influence and want to be free of that. And, they're the more pure love couple, or whatever you want to call it. And, they're combating that. And you just see two sides of the same coin, but obviously very different in their beliefs and stuff. And at the end, you could kind of get a sense that once Clive and Jill win this fight, they kind of maybe feel a little bit sad and sympathy for who they defeated, because it wasn't necessarily that these two were bad people, maybe to start off with, but with the whole influence of the crystals and power and obviously Ultima's influence, maybe it makes them kind of seem sympathetic and pity for him, where it's like, and maybe give Jill and Clive a sense of, we could possibly turn out like this if we're not careful. We have to, tread carefully. We have to be mindful of what's going on, because this is what these crystals, these mother crystals, this is what Ultima and everything that's going wrong in the world, this is what eventually happens if you're not careful. So we can't be consumed by this whole drive too, that we lose who we are and our personalities. But ultimately, I just feel like Benedikta had so much more to give. Should have had a lot more intense moments, not just on the battlefield, but even in the hideout itself, just having there, and just having more interactions with her and other characters. Like I said, I'd like to see how her and Jill would have interacted and stuff. Imagine her on that mission with Jill with the Drake's Breath Mother Crystal. That would have been interesting, but I just feel like these characters could have given so much more. But that is my opinion. I want to hear your guys' opinion. Do you think Benedikta, similar to Sid, died way too quickly and had so many more moments, character-driven moments, they could have given to not just the story, but the rest of the cast of characters? Let me know down below in the comment section. But thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope to see you guys back on the next one. Thank you, and I'll see you later. Peace.